Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Gizmondia on Wine as we continue our journey through the BC Harvest 2020. This morning, we're heading to the Golden Mile Bench in Checkmate Vineyard. We're catching up with winemaker Phil McGann, who's been busy this morning already crushing grapes. Phil, how are you?
I'm great, Tony. How are you?
I'm really well. I love to see the sunshine out. The weather looks good. How's the harvest progressing for you?
Oh, it's fantastic. We've had a great fall so far, and last week for the next week or so, we've got beautiful sunny days. So perfect hang time for our red varieties that are coming in. So yeah, we're into the Merlots now.
So this morning you've been harvesting. Tell us where the grapes come from and what you're doing with them.
Yeah, so today we're processing fruit from a vineyard called Pendergast, which is on the foothills of Anarchist Mountain. It's on the first hairpin as you go up out of the valley, and
we're talking about Merlot grapes.
Oh, Merlot, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Are you finished with Chardonnay now?
Yeah, Chardonnay we finished about a week and a half ago, the 20th of September. So yeah, it's all fermenting now. Our wild ferments have all ticked off.
Tell us a bit about your Merlot program then. You have single vineyards, single blocks. How do you bring this fruit in over the next few weeks?
Yeah, so we bring the fruit in as single blocks. We generally start down at Osoyoos, and we've actually picked our final block down there today in East Osoyoos. And then we'll start picking after that just north of Oliver and also over on West Osoyoos next week. Before the following week, we'll probably bring in fruit from Black Sage Bench. So we bring in separate parcels, and then we usually ferment them separately.
Can you turn your camera around, Phil?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. So you can see into the winery now.
Take us inside. Give us a little view of what's going on.
Yep, okay. So the first thing that we do is the fruit comes in, it goes up into the picking bin, gets loaded into the receival arm, and that's a hydraulic lift that then takes it up into the hopper. Up on the main table we have Wayne, our loyal cellar hand, who's been with us for about 4 years. His job is to pick out any material that's not great up there and then meter it into our destemmer. So our destemmer here is an Osoyoos destemmer. So it's a more recent kind of evolution of destemmers that actually oscillates back and forward. Old-fashioned destemmers used to have an arm with feeders and then a cage. This just has the cage that oscillates back and forth. And then we have our harvest team here doing the job they love the most, berry sorting Merlot across the table. So basically we have a shaker table where two of the team, what they're really trying to do is rub the berries back and across the grape very gently to separate from the jacks. And then the remainder of the team is basically picking anything they've missed out of the bins. Here is really quite pristine.
Yeah.
A lot of dark skin Merlot there and very little green material.
Fantastic. So from here they head to fermentation. How long will these skins be in contact with the juice?
We do a pretty long fermentation. We do we're about 50 to 55 days on the skins. So if we do a 5-ton ferment, which this will be, it will have, my goal will be to get to at least 50 days. If I can push it beyond that to 55, even up to close to 60 days, I've done that in the past. And what I'm really trying to do from that is really extract all the flavors that I can from the skins.
Yeah. And I assume lengthen the tannins a bit, or to try to get more softness when you leave them for so long a time now?
Yeah, we get a lot of extract of the tannins from nice warm ferment. You also do extract more tannins as you soak in the alcohol solution post fermentation. But I find that after time they start to polymerize a little bit, and that actually kind of sets up your aging process for the wine. And
when you're ready to put them down into to age them, what kind of vessels are you using at Checkmate?
We tend to use Bordeaux French oak from Bordeaux Coopers. We use a high proportion of the oak. Stylistically, we chose to kind of follow that route. We do consider the vintage each year as to exactly how close to the 100% new oak that we do go. But I generally find that the Merlots here, the way that we make them, they can handle the oak quite well. So we tend to be fairly aggressive.
So Phil, this fruit that's in front of us today, where will it end up eventually?
This fruit is destined to either go into our opening gambit Merlot, it's or our end game Merlot. So opening gambit is our fruit, our blend that's purely Osoyoos Lake Bench or East Osoyoos, and end game is our blend of the Black Sage Bench and Osoyoos.
You picked the fruit early this morning. Is that also something you regularly do?
No, we actually tend to pick the fruit the day before. So this fruit was picked yesterday morning. It arrived at the winery about 7 a.m. and we put it in the cold room for around 24 hours, and we start processing the next day. So the fruit they picked this morning, they picked actually fruit from Border Vista Vineyard this morning. That came here, that arrived here about 7 a.m. as well, and that's in our cold room right now. So, yeah.
And I know that you guys talk a lot about single vineyards and single blocks. How is the Merlot laid out, say, versus the Chardonnay? Are they more blends of sites, or are they still single blocks or single vineyards?
No, they're all blends of sites. When I first, in the first couple of years, I really looked at trying to do a single vineyard Merlot, but I found that the variety just lends itself to kind of blending different sites.
Yeah.
And I think whether that's partly because Merlot's not a variety where you talk about clonal variances as much. I think it's more about the variances you get from vineyard to vineyard and how they complement each other from the soils. And I just found that worked the best for our Merlots, and that's the track that we followed. I'm not saying that's how it would be forever, but that's how it is at the moment.
Well, for our viewers, we've been asking people about the fruit, the harvest, the quality. I know it's early. How would you summarize what the Merlot looks like, or how it's coming in at this point?
The Merlot is beautiful. It's a low sugar year. So by that I mean that the flavors and the tannins are ripened in unison with the sugar. Because if you think about the year, other than the heat spikes we had in August, which we tend to expect them from mid-July to mid-August, it's actually been a very cool year, and then complemented by a nice warm, September and early fall. So that's kind of perfect for everything coming together in unison at the end.
I know that you're going to give us a little vineyard tour, but before you do, can we just have a look at those grapes that you have in there? Maybe you could put some in your hand. We can get an idea of the size of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll just turn this camera around. I can do it this way. So yeah, this is the bins that are waiting to be done. We pick into half-ton bins. Everything's hand-picked. There you go. That's a lot prettier than me. So you can see the clusters here. They're not particularly big clusters this year. They're quite stringy. Merlot tends to be a stringy cluster, but the one thing this year was that the weather during the set wasn't particularly great. So we tended to get these kind of loosely elongated clusters. The cluster sizes would be below average. But you can see if you pick up a berry, they're kind of not particularly big, which is good. That means you get a good skin to juice ratio coming through. And if you squeeze them here, they're not, they're still quite, what's the term? They're still quite solid and crisp, which I think is a good thing as well. But yeah, so all that color will come from those beautiful kind of dark, kind of purple skins, which will give us great color this year. And in tank, we've already noticed that the color's quite excellent from our first pick after 5 days on skins. Yeah,
looks great. Okay, let's have a look at the home. Maybe you can take us over to the home vineyard and we can see what still needs to be picked.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll keep you on the winery view because that's more interesting than me.
Okay.
So the vineyard is just out through the lower door over here. And this big monster of a machine here is how we get the fruit into the tank.
Yeah.
It's basically an incline. So you may have noticed that we had those stainless steel bin there that we're sorting into, and that has a little door on the front. So we basically forklifted into this, directly into here, and we open the front gate, and then it basically just goes up there into the tank, and there's a small arm takes it across. So the fruit gets to the tank without being crushed in any way. And if anything, it's just been gently split at the most by the work of the team on the table. So I'll take you out here to the vineyard here. This is the Cambrai Merlot out here.
Wow.
This is a little behind the fruit of the Osoyoos. It'll be picked. I tend to try to manage the picks a fair way out. With Merlot, you do your sampling and your analysis fairly early on, but at the end of the day, it comes down to taste. On the vine, I just lost my camera, my second camera person there.
All good.
There'll be some good footage there. So we're into the block here. So we tend to have some deer issues here on the property. So at the end of the rows, we've put netting on to keep the deer out.
Right.
We've also...
That's cool. And I can see by the sun, so we're facing, you're facing east, so you're getting the morning sun on this vineyard?
Yeah, so this is the east side here. So the row orientation here is near perfect. It's just off north-south. So you get nice, even... Here we tend to really utilize the morning sun more because... we have Mount Cobo behind us. If you can see up the mountain there, that's Mount Cobo.
Yeah, great shot. So
that tends to actually, dampen the afternoon sun a little bit. We still get quite a lot of it, but it's less than the other sides. And then we have the shaded side on the other side. And you can see the crop load this year. I'm just going down to where it's not netted. It'll be easy for us to see. The crop load isn't particularly heavy this year. Everything's coming in around between 3 and 3.5 tons, which is perfect for Merlot. It gives you still freshness and depth of flavour. This is a very interesting vineyard. It varies between having good vigour, and there's this very rocky, stony section in the middle that has there's not a lot of nutrients in the soil, so it tends to be a little bit weaker in the middle. But I find this vineyard, if you really crop it to the right level, you get this beautiful kind of wet stone character coming through along with the intensity of the fruit. Yeah. And this is the one block that we actually ferment in a concrete fermenter to complement that. And this will be destined for Silent Bishop when it's done.
Phil, we really appreciate your time today. I know how busy you are. Thanks a lot, Phil. We'll catch up with you soon.
You're welcome.
We invite you to follow the grape harvest across British Columbia in this 2020 vintage as we visit several more wineries to catch up on what's going on in the vineyards and how the harvest will shake out until the end of the year. For now, you can follow us on social media or on YouTube. Until next time, I'm Anthony Gismondi, and you've been watching Gismondi on Wine live from the 2020 harvest in British Columbia.